So the example of a student coming into an American classroom with the understanding that looking someone in the eyes shows disrespect, whereas in this American classroom setting, looking someone in the eyes actually shows the opposite. It shows respect. And so this is something that needs to be addressed because it can really be a point of tension between students and anyone that they're interacting with. So this is a fear that students have, but it's also a need that teachers need to address this. And so it's the responsibility of the teacher to be aware of these things and then have the appropriate conversations that address what's going to set them up for the most success in the situation that they're in. At the same time, teachers need to be really aware of how culture and tradition plays a role in the classroom. That's going to be different for each student. So teachers need to be careful not to try and be rid of the culture and traditions that students come in with, but to foster that and celebrate that in the classroom. And so ways of doing this are reading and teaching books that feature other cultures. So books like The Bronx Masquerade, Surrender Tree, The House on Mango Street, and there are tons of other ones. And also celebrating certain holidays and teaching on their origins, where they come from, why there are holidays. But these things will really allow students to start to get rid of these fears that they have and be provided with everything that they need to feel comfortable in the classroom.
And the purpose of this this practice isn't to individualize students in a way that will bring attention to them in an uncomfortable way, but the point is for teachers to help their entire classroom become aware of these cultural diversities and not just do it for the benefit of the student, but also for the benefit of all students so that they can all be aware of these things and making an inclusive classroom as a whole.
And so then we're going to go into our last activity, which is called Step Across the Line If. And so we'll explain to students to stand in a line and that we're going to read off certain statements. And if it applies to them, they should take a step forward. And the goal of this is that by the end of the activity, that students will be all over the spectrum on where they're at on the line to show that diversity is in the room that we're in, that there's diversity between one student and another with their peers. And that, again, going back to the iceberg, that some of these things that they step forward for are things that people wouldn't have known because you can't physically see it. So this is just a good representation of all that we've talked about, that it shows that there's not only diversity in the classroom, in the education system, but there's diversity in most rooms that they're in.
So finally, we just put these two questions on the presentation so that students could think about this as they walk out. Depending on how much time we have, we're hoping that they will take this as like a takeaway, and they'll start thinking of teaching strategies that they can use to create a diverse classroom, or they can become better teachers based on what they've learned today and based on trying to broaden their spectrum into becoming more diverse teachers. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.